Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking, and I'm here today to speak about the full moon happening in the sign of Pisces. Now, a full moon always brings light to something in our life. So check out in your chart where the full moon is going to be happening. By degree, it's going to be happening on the 28th degree of Pisces on the 20th of September. And most probably you will feel its effect actually at least for 2 months. And I'm going to explain to you very briefly why. Now, this full moon, as I mentioned, is happening on the 28th degrees of Pisces, which falls into a Scorpio, Decan, and Aquarius dot. Now, if you don't know what that means, I've made a video separately a few weeks back about how to interpret those. So I recommend checking that out. In this video, I recommend staying till the very end because I'm going to be introducing 2 fixed stars for you as well, which plays a significant role in this full moon. And one of them is going to be Ixion and the other one is Scheat. So let's get started. Now, so 28 degrees. So it's very close to the 29th degree, which is actually the completion, the degree of completion. And also we're talking about Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiacs. So it does talk about completion. And on top of that, the full moon talks about completion as well. So something which you should be ready to let go of, and this is going to be the major theme of this full moon. Now, last time I spoke about the new moon in the sign of Virgo, where I mentioned that this new moon was opposing a asteroid called Nessus. And it was a healing process, what we especially mentioned there, to start a healing process. And now you should be ready to let go of some of the fears. So the last 2 weeks were very much about discovering where some of the emotional turmoil comes from. And turmoil because this new moon was actually trining Uranus. Right now, this time around, this full moon is falling into Aquarian dot, which is also about still triggering some of those emotional traumas, but somehow we need to surrender, we need to let go of those, we need to release something. And typically this would be a negative patterns, which is kind of occupying your mind about. Why is that? Because of the Aquarian dot, which is the higher mind. Now, the modern ruler of Pisces is actually Neptune, and they have got a wide conjunction to it. And also Pluto is playing a very significant role here also, because it has got a sextile to this full moon. So these 2 collective planets very much reinforcing the quality of healing of this full moon. So Neptune is all about the collective good, the collective healing on a sense, and Pluto is all about transformation of some sort. So this full moon, the message is that we need to transform the energy, which is something higher and bigger than you. And it could talk about, depending on where this full moon is falling into, it could be your career, it could be your relationship, but doing something for the greater good. So Neptune is kind of about charity. You know, you might have got a bone to pick with someone, but it's all about forgiveness and letting go of that anger, what is actually frustrating you in a sense. Now, the anger I mentioned, because we still have got a Scorpio Decan to deal with, which is our inner frustration, our inner demons, which needs to be swept out of our subconscious as in Pisces. So this is very much talking about going forward, moving on from something. And we can do that by doing some spiritual matters, or we can do some meditations, or it might be just singing in the bathroom, sitting in a bathtub and being surrounded by rose petals and candles and whatever Piscean things you want to be doing. But it's all about connecting to a higher force. And that's very much about the Pisces, Scorpio, Aquarian element to this full moon. You might become a little bit sleepy around this time around, wanting to escape from any type of mundane concerns, but this escapism actually beneficial for you if you use this as a quality time to reflect on your life, meaning that, you know, coming to terms with those inner demons and, you know, facing those inner demons. And that's what that Marsian quality of this new moon we'll talk about, because Mars rules the scorpionic decan, right? So I'm going to be facing those. And this definitely has got that relationship factor to it because Mars is in the sign of Libra. So this new full moon, is actually reminding you that conquering your fears on your own might not be successful. You need someone who is going to be supporting you on the journey. Now, this full moon is definitely telling you that you should be giving some space for yourself. You should be distancing yourself from any type of gossips and any type of fights. And you know what? Remembering there is this proverb in my language that the clever will actually surrender so that the stupid can suffer. That's what we say in my language. And I think there is this message with this full moon involved. Now, this full moon also definitely affecting the collective energy significantly. Once because Pluto and Neptune are involved, and the next reason is because it's very close to the world axis, which is actually the Libra and Aries 0 degree. So on a larger scale, it could talk about medical matters, maybe some type of medical breakthroughs or medical breakdowns because of the Aquarian quality. Or let's not forget that this full moon is ruled by Jupiter, which is retrograde. So revisiting some of the medical systems in our life could be something which this full moon talks about. Or the ways we actually heal in the society, but it could also bring in some technological advancements as well in the world or overall. It could so actually talk about animal healing and some type of breakthroughs in that department. Now, this full moon is, as I mentioned, is very close to the Libra equinox, which is the world axis. So it definitely indicates that something big is going to be happening in the world. And this is probably going to start somewhere around the 14th of September. Now, the reason why, because Mars actually entered the sign of Libra on the 14th, and it's triggering that point. So it could be something like, let's suppose with Mars, we're going to have a disagreement with someone, right? And then around the full moon, we realize, you know what, we shouldn't be doing that. Let's get rid of that feeling, because it's a water sign. There is plenty of emotions involved here. So something which gets us triggered emotionally around the 14th of September, and then actually we can leave that behind from the 20th of September onwards. And we have had plenty of activation on the world axis. So we previously had Venus moving into the sign of Libra as well at the beginning of September, around the 4th, 5th. So actually maybe the 8th, sorry. So, you know, Venus was all about what I wanted to do. And then Mars comes around, which cuts things away. So it brings us frustration because I can't do what I would enjoy doing. And then there is some healing element to it coming around the 20th of September. Right? By the way, I'd like to point out that from a financial world point of view, Mars actually reaches the position of Saturn in the Bitcoin chart on the 22nd of September as well. So this full moon is definitely triggering something to do with the Bitcoin as well. And at the same time, the sun is arriving at the equinox as well. Overall, it kind of indicates to me a significant low period. But give me a feedback on that, because it will be very interesting to see how it might play out. Now, this full moon has got a very important sextile to an asteroid called Ixion and also Sedna as well. Now, I made a video separately about Sedna when it went recently retrograde, so check that out. I'm not necessarily going to be involving Sedna so much. However, it's on 29 degree, which is called the weeping sister degree. So something to do with crying, something to do with floods and heavy rains and all those type of energies coming into the picture. But in this video, I wanted to explore a little bit Ixion. So as we usually do with asteroids or fixed stars, we should be looking at the myth, the history behind them, and that gives us an element of understanding of what it might mean from an astrological perspective. So when Ixion got married, he promised his father-in-law a very valuable present, but actually he never delivered on his promise. So the father-in-law stole some of his horses because he wanted to retaliate his gesture, basically. So on one hand, Ixion in the chart will represent promises which are broken in a sense. So then what happened later on, Ixion actually invited the father-in-law to a feast, and when he arrived, he pushed him onto a bed of burning coals, which actually killed the father-in-law. So he had some type of guilt over this, and it drove Ixion very mad. And so Ixion can represent something to do with guilt, something about catharsis, which needs to be cleansed in your life. And his fiancée got very kind of like offended by this violent acting of his, so she decided to get divorced from him, and he wanted to be purified. And actually the king of the gods, Zeus, took pity on him, and he brought him to Olympus and introduced him to the other gods as well. But he didn't necessarily show appreciation. So Ixion kind of grew this lustful feelings towards Zeus' wife, Hera. So he wanted to seduce her. So, and then of course, Zeus found it out, and he went into, like, he's substituted a cloud in the shape of his wife, with whom Ixion mated, and through this act, basically he died. And then he became a centaur, which was a half horse and a half human. So that's pretty much the story about Ixion. So it does talk about that guilt, which we actually feel, but we never want to get over. Apart from that, by the way, Ixion is actually a dwarf planet. So it talks about the broken promises. It talks about not following any type of rules. It talks about outlawing any type of status in our life. It talks about second chances, which we might not live up to, and we kind of wasting things. However, on a higher manifestation, if we step onto the right road, Ixion actually talks about the spiritual path we could actually take. So we can be very passionate about when we realize that we also made some type of mistake. And if I don't violate the rules, which is bounded us to, to our fellow people, then actually it could bring an emotional lift up as well. So second chances. So this new moon very much talks about the second chances you receive to actually let go of some of your trauma experiences. And it is all about making an agreement with someone in your relationships, and kind of like transmuting your emotions into something better. So Ixion in the chart represents a very busy period. It could indicate actually workaholism, or kind of like the lust to possess something, being attached to the material world, but also it talks about the consequences we do once we are not able to actually let go of things. In many cases, a prominent Ixion in the chart talks about lack of appreciations or gratitude from others, or when you take things for granted, kind of like being on a treadmill, living life without any type of regrets. And when you are harming other people's creations, or when you become ingenuine towards others and kind of represents anything to do with artificial type of things, it tells you that you should be kind of trying to live a simpler life rather than gaining strength through joy, rather than creating trouble all the time. But on a positive note, it's a very charismatic, it is very inventive, and owning up to your own mistakes in life. So this full moon, in my opinion, is very much talking about, you know, looking at your own side of the coin as well. Where could I have done something better? And because it's a sextile, it gives you the opportunity to actually do so. I would like to mention actually that Ixion is actually on 29 degree of Sagittarius at the moment. It went into Capricorn for a very short period of time, but it's been in the sign of Sagittarius for a good 25, 28 years. So it does talk about healing some of those belief systems which we are having and kind of breaking away from those. So now, because of the Neptunian quality to this full moon, it could indicate though something which is too good to be true. So even though this full moon has got plenty of positive aspects, there is kind of like a silver lining here, kind of like imagine a donut wrapped up in a beautiful dressing, sugar coated, and then when you bite into it, that donut is actually very stale and hard. So something which looks very good but might not be the greatest. And one of the reasons why I'd like to point that out for you, because this full moon conjunct quite an important fixed star called Shiite. Now, one of the easy ways to actually talk about Shiite is it's very similar to the word shit. And I'm sorry for my French, but that's exactly what Shiite indicates: shitty situations. So it has got Mercury and Mars qualities. It causes misfortune, murder, suicide, drowning. Some competition, maybe between high enterprises. And it also, in my opinion, has got some type of Saturnian character as well. So because it's a Saturnian Marsian energy, it is a malefic fixed star overall. It talks about natural disasters, catastrophes such as floods and shipwrecks and mining accidents and airplane accidents, or even some type of suicide, terror attack could also indicate such thing, especially in those countries where this Shiite is involved in with the midheaven or the ascendant. Now, the positive manifestation of Shiite is something which is about mental creativity. So use this energy to mentally create something, and it might be just a song, right? So remember, this full moon is all about being super sensitive. You can become a psychic sponge. You can receive messages from the gods above, Aquarian Dwad, right? So it's just all about downloading those. You can be very intuitive, but there is so much emotion to deal with. And we just need to be able to prioritize. And I think that Ixion could be actually talking about it. But the key here is to rest, to slow down a little bit, seeing that your worth is not necessarily tied to always what you do. It's about giving permission for yourself to recharge your batteries. So make sure that you create some type of space in your schedule to have a me time. So that's my interpretation on, yes, because, hold on, because, you know, with this full moon, you can become very dreamy. It can be very beautiful, but there is also a hidden aspect to it. So how I am going to achieve that internal happiness? So I do believe that there is going to be some type of progression happening in the viral industry or around the vaccine. And the reason why I said that it might last for a couple of good 2 months, because the ruler of this full moon, Jupiter, actually has got an exact trine happening on the very same day with Mercury, which talks about being data-driven. But I would like to mention that Mercury is at its shadow period as well, because he will be going retrograde on the 27th of September. And Mercury will be making 3 trines to Jupiter. So that's going to be a very important aspect, which I am going to be covering in a different video anyway. So I think it's this full moon with Jupiter is all about the emotions this time around, and Mercury is all about being data driven. So overall balancing out the facts with our dreams. And then this full moon should be beautiful. It should be bringing you healing from Pluto and from the conjunction from Neptune as well as Ixion. We just need to be able to prioritize. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you did so, then press like and share the content with others. I'm trying to bring in something unique each time so that you can learn astrology with me. And then if you are more interested in a more in-depth teaching, then I'm going to be having a solar return chart class, which is going to be 3 week, about 12 to 15 hours, and we're gonna dive into the solar return chart so very deeply. So see you very shortly with another great video. Have a blessed day, everyone. Bye-bye.